Hello everyone, and welcome back to a long overdue episode of the Biggening Corporation. We had an excellent week of content last week for other events all at the same time, and I bow to the much deeper knowledge that can be gained from DynamicsCon. And Friday was the Biggening, which some of the Microsoft team often will attend and give us some deep dive, and yeah, it's called the Biggening, and we're supposed to be sitting around socializing, drinking, and having a good time, but boy, sometimes it's so much useful information that it's almost hard to do at the end of a work week. It's evening European time. By Friday evening, it's a little tricky. So, even though this is an odd little number to pick to start the process off, I think that this is a fine time to recap. We kind of got stuck in the weeds last week with role centers. So today, our primary goal is to talk about minimum viable product. And in the development world, sometimes this is summarized a little more succinctly as F it, ship it. And the idea is that you need to get something done and put together, especially in a time and age where it is so easy to continue to improve and update once everything is in motion. And I think that that's an attitude that I need to take with this little project so that we don't lose our momentum, because we need to get some things rocking and rolling with this. We're stuck right now in the weeds of a few things that we shouldn't be stuck in. It was a very important thing to get a role center put together for a player. Absolutely. Is that minimum viable product for it to be a functional game? Probably not. So my focus today is then to identify kind of what do we have between now and the beginning of this project that is done and is working, versus what do we have left that could be our first alpha version of the product. And I think that's a worthwhile thing to talk about a little bit and say, all right, let's try to have a sense of what have we accomplished, what do we still have to do. And for this, I'm just going to keep it real simple for now, and we'll just do a Word doc, because why not? We just need to have a simple, straightforward dual list. Yep, here. So we're going to just brainstorm a little bit of what we've got done and what do we need to do to have it be our first players, actual players playing a little bit along. So alright, so let's talk what we've done and what stands between now and play. So I think that's a worthwhile recap to start us off at a little bit. Some of you have been following along this whole time and possibly will go, oh man, why were you looking at that? But it's a good idea to not lose the information about what have you done versus what you need to still get done. So, all right. So to recap, for anyone joining at this stage, just on the off chance that anyone has not watched along, we are building a game, right? And the whole point is to build wealth against the other players in the system and to see who is able to build the most wealth effectively with the best strategies, whether it be in how they manage their bots or how they pick different items in the market space to be their focus, all those sort of questions. And so we've got a lot of things done, but we still have a lot to do. So let's kind of talk through those two different lists. Let's focus first on what we do have done. And we're just going to bullet list. We need to kind of mentally assess where we're at. So we have the ability to have players and players connect to companies. Cool. Okay, that's good. And they also connect to users, so that's good. We have a bot engine, which is failsafe, uses power, and does operations. We'll have to examine a little bit deeper on what the does operations. Obviously, we've got lots of bots we haven't even started to touch yet, but we're getting there. We've got a research engine. Started. But we don't really have a whole lot of content to that just yet. We have an unlockable item system. True. That's the master items that we've got. We've got market fluctuations in pricing that players can respond and adapt to. So that's pretty cool. That was actually one of our could we do and whatnot. Let's see, our bot engine, bot buying also costs. That's good. Let's see, then we have locations. We've got controls of stock. I don't think we have controls of bots. I'm not sure we've got good template controls over that, so we'll have to think about that. The bots can be assigned. Yep. We've got basic logistics bots. Yep. We have not done advanced logistics assembly and manufacturing yet. Okay. Let's see. We've introduced power. Costs accrue and get charged. Yep, we got that. Cool. We have the time engine. Game time is malleable. It's always exciting. I did have the service for the game shut off for the time being. Let's see. We also need to capture some information about the overall trending of players and whatnot. So let's see. So where did we leave off with our snapshots? Because we started to... I'm just looking for reference. I'm not going to dive into code right this second. So we capture the daily rankings. Okay, that's cool. Excellent. And great. Yeah, and we've got the beginnings of a season functionality. So, alright, so we kind of have a scoring season system. Okay, alright. We don't at this time have a good sense of how players are doing. So, okay. And then, let's see. Okay. That's interesting. We've got services in here. I wonder what that was intended to be. Okay. No idea. I think the plan was to eventually possibly have resource and service-based charges, but I don't think that that's feasible or useful in a balanced way within the framework of things, so that's fine. We also have a really interesting, complex company initialization system. So that way we can spin up companies that share setup information. So that's cool. So we've got a lot built, which, alright. Fantastic. But what do we have standing between us and play? We don't have player permissions and page controls. In some of the areas of the system, they will just have read-only, and then other places they will have read-write, but limited options. I'm a little fuzzy if we have location templates and constraints actually done. Like, for example, I think you can assign, 400 bots to a basic location. I don't think there's any constraint around that. Speaking of which, bot assignment constraints, I don't think we've checked that. So I think right now that you could assign like 500 bots to a single customer. I don't think it'll benefit you, but I don't think that it will prevent you either. We don't have research UI and effects in place, so we need to handle that. We have the unlockable item system, but we don't have the item database built. Yep, that's true. We should get the system admin role center, but that's a little less of a worry for me. That's just a gotta get something put together. Let's see. For version 1, we could, at a not even version 1, version 0.1, we could, at a minimum, make do with sales, purchase, and basic logistics bots with basic locations. That's true. It could give us a minimum viable product for a test version 0.1 series. So that's okay. I think we'll go with that. I think that will be perfectly reasonable. Let's see. Okay. Yep. Let's see. Yes. One of the things that I consider to be a really should have, because it's pretty easy to forget. I mean, lives are busy. Things come up. It's pretty easy to forget about your game ticking along. That's why most modern applications have some sort of notification engine built into an app to say, hey, don't forget to pick up your eggs from your chicken farm or whatever little silly farm thing you're enjoying. No aspersions. I've played a few and enjoyed them. So I think, to me, email management is probably something I would want to start a system for, but it technically doesn't stand between us and the ability to play. So I'm going to disqualify that as a version 0.1 requirement. I think we're okay on that. Let's see. And as far as everything else as a minimum viable product, is there anything else that we can't do without it? We were starting to build the scoreboard for the player role center, which we think we have. To be honest, standings overview, I think we've got it. We just didn't have test data for it. Okay. Cool. Okay. Alright. So, I mean, that realistically feels like enough. I think the system administrator role center can fall outside of the constraint of that, because if you're a system administrator, you can make do as long as they're jumping off points. And for version 0.1, that's just us on the live stream here administering that, so I'm not too worried about it. What we should, however, do a little tiny bit of between now and playing, we also need to update player GDPR flags. Because that will actually be personally identifiable info in a way. So, yep, that'll be something we're going to potentially need to fix. Cool. Alright, so version 0.2 system role center. I would want there to be some data, season closing tools. Stuff that closes out a season. Technically, at that point, once the season is closed, the companies can be removed and the standing information can just be preserved in the future. So we can go have season closing tools, and I agree absolutely. As a player, I would want the email handling. Between now and playing, I think it would be a good idea to do a UI review for mobile and make sure that we didn't miss anything about how the system is working. So I'm gonna go away. Alright, I kind of put that off to the side there, didn't I? So yeah, cool. All right. I think that will have us in pretty good shape, and then we can focus on, this will be a little incremental bump, and then I think we'll do version 3, can be focused on assembly. Assembly bots are basic logistics locations, so we can have that be that. And then v4, manufacturing. And then we'll see version 9.9 will be bug fixing, if there's any bugs that we need. And then we'll finally have our version 1.0. Yeah, that sounds good. So we'll label this version 0.9 as our beta target, and then these builds are kind of our alpha builds. So that's a nice little roadmap, and it helps when you have to step away from a project and come back to it, even for a few days. If it's been a crazy few days, it helps to revisit what are your goals. You should always take the time to reground. Does this help the goal? Because it's super easy when you're a dev, particularly you get focused on the problem in front of you, not the solution that is needed. So now, knowing that this is really where we're at, where we were starting to go down the road of, was we were looking at, building some business charts and showing trending info, and those trends and things like that, those would be cool. Guess what they're not on? They're not standing between us and playing. So let's move them out. Let's get on to the next version. That's fine. So that, I think, kind of roadmaps better. What do we need to accomplish? And if we really think about it, in the top to bottom of things, I think we could probably knock this out in one episode, the player permissions and controls, because that's about an hour worth of chugging along. This might be 1 to 2 episodes. The bot assignment constraints and checking through and making sure we've got some good logic around that. Okay, I think we could probably spend maybe up to an episode on that. And the UI and effects and everything like that, maybe 1 episode. Sure. And then the item database. This is something I will do off camera. I've talked about doing it off camera and just haven't yet, but I will do so. And I'm pretty okay with, for the most part, just doing that entirely off camera and letting people kind of see what's in here as we go. This will be less than 1 episode. That's just flagging a bunch of things. And odds are pretty good this assignment constraint one will be less than 1 episode too. So, and then UI review. I think we could spend probably an episode on that. And now that gives us a sense of, all right, 1, maybe 3, 4, 5, 6. So realistically, looking at this as our minimum viable product, the effort, ship it point of things, we should be able to solicit some folks who would like to be version 0.1 alpha testers to join us and play along starting next week. That's kind of exciting. So that gives us a better sense of where do we need to go. And I think there's lots and lots of stuff that we do need to tidy up and clean up and try to make a little bit better. But if we focus on this, and then as we roll through these things in the future, we can kind of balance between the must-haves of that version versus the this would be cool to have, then I think we'll do a pretty good job of balancing that out. And my hope is that we can switch from development of the core product to what are some of the bells and whistles. Like, for example, version 0.5. Maybe it's all about Power BI cubes against the data. Or version 0.6, APIs. Actually, they would go together, wouldn't they? Why not? Because that way we can open it wide open. I might want to have in versions 0.6 here, we could actually, these are not minimum viable product for the launch version, are they? They are not. So again, you got to think about what's between you and launch, what's between you and delivery. So realistically, this could be a 1.1. We could then say that 1.2 is the update where we start playing with JavaScript components. We can have a lot of fun with some of these different pieces. I can't type and talk at the same time today. We can have a lot of fun with different pieces even after we hit that launch version. RTM is ready to release to manufacturing. Once upon a time, that meant you were done. You couldn't make any more changes. That's not the case with what we're doing, and that's not the case in the modern development world anyways. Some of my favorite games, one that jumps to mind, only recently hit their version 1, and that was after 7 years. So, I would like to hit version 1 before that, but we can totally do more stuff. And I think we can do a lot more edge case stuff, and learn about some of the weirder pieces of things. I may also, at some point in time, do a separate little session after we get between now and version 0.1, which we'll call that. I may, between now, sometime after we hit that version 0.1, do kind of a roundup episode and talk a little more basically through some of the things that we've talked about. Like, I used a lot of different table types and field numbering systems. I really didn't go into detail of like some of the logic and design behind all of them. And there are some old school concepts that it was recently pointed out to me that aren't taught in a lot of the modern books and modern development practices and things like that. And it's hard to know what you don't know. So I may do some explaining around that. But what I would also probably want to do is sometime during the V2 episode, I want to probably do an episode about data analysis. What went where? Because we're going to have a whole bunch of documents and everything like that, because I'll spin up a player company. I don't know any strategies any better than anyone else does, so I'll probably play along, and we'll see what that data actually looks like as part of competing in the mix of things. So, yeah, okay, great. Well, given all this in mind, we are looking at probably by end of next week, we're going to need some volunteers to be testers. That'll be fun. All right. So let's pick one for today that is a smallish one. Bot assignment constraints. That one's marked as a less than an episode thing, and since we're about halfway through today, let's check it out. Okay, so in our bot instance, we have a table relation on assignment code. Perfectly fine, perfectly reasonable. We do not validate this at all. We validated that it's a related table, sure, but there is nothing in place that checks to see, is that a good idea? Is that a allowed idea? Is that something that we should encourage the player to do? We don't have any of that. So let's see. In the original concept, each bot will act as a representative to a customer. And then you potentially just need to get more complex bots to sell more to that customer. So there theoretically is an implication in this, as well as the implication on the purchase order side, that they're going to act as a representative, and same sort of thing, that there's only one shipment per vendor at a time, i.e. one order per day. So it should be a logical follow constraint that sales and purchase bots should not be able to be assigned to the same customers and vendors. and we added to locations a bot count constraint, that maximum number of bots that should be operating in a place. So we've got business logic that should be applied to check on whether or not a bot should be assignable to a place, and we don't have anything on that. So we need this in two different places, really. We need that not only here in the assignment code, so that if a player goes to their existing bot list, let's see here. So if they go to the existing bot list and change assignments, this situation right here should not be possible. But separately, when they do a by bot function, that we also are selecting what the assignment is. So there's a couple different places where that should live. So we should have a validation code unit. Oh, you know what? Refactor. There are some best practices that I did not do in because I didn't know that we're going to need to revisit. I am also going to be learning up a lot on testability. I have not spent as much time with that as I should be. So V2, a big focus on that is testability, definitely. But one of the things that is being agreed on by people focused entirely on quality and everything like that is the making a management code unit like this, where we do lots of different things, is the old school NAV way of creating a management code unit. But it is collecting too many functional pieces into a single giant code unit, and that what you really are supposed to be doing in the modern development cycle is having a code unit per what you're trying to accomplish. So instead of here a bot management where we have a purchase bot method, we should just have a purchase bot code unit, and then any method this function needs can be in here, of course. Like we've got a couple of different things in here, charge cash or charge material, but those are on another code unit, which is another multi-purpose code unit. So if we go look at that, I don't think it has too many pieces in here, but we do have, if we go into the player charge code unit, we have two different functions, charge cash, charge material. Modern requirements and recommendations and testability is that those should be in their own code units. And while I totally understand the old way of doing things, there was also an implied object cost to all these things. In cloud customers, there is no cost, so there's less reason there ever has been to compile all of these big giant chunks into one big honkin' code unit. So this, for example, definitely could be broken up into two different things, for sure. Because it looks like, yeah. So we're going to have an episode where we do some refactoring. Mostly around what I believe to be the correct industry practices are, and hopefully that way we're in good shape for testability later. But that does suggest that we'll probably end up with a new folder for some different code units for each of the different functional areas. So I might move around the archive a little bit, but that's not too big of a deal. This is a pretty monstrous number of objects in this workspace. If we look, I believe we get a tally. I thought we got a tally. Maybe we don't. It's a lot. There is an awful lot in here. Okay. Well, interesting. I totally thought we got a count. Oh well. So anyways, but yeah, we're gonna do some definite tidy up on that. But for now, let's get a new code unit, check assignment. Nice and simple, and this is definitely a bot code unit, so we'll put it in our bots folder for now, and we will call this BCS bot check assignment. I have not put any interfaces in place yet, and that is something that I would potentially want to do at some point too, so think about that. So one of the things I don't have a good sense of here is, if you're naming the code, if you're naming your single purpose code units like this, where you're saying basically you're doing check assignment, it feels awkward and weird to me that name the procedure, the same exact thing. That feels a little weird and awkward, so maybe some of you folks watching along have a bit of feedback on the naming and nomenclature of that standard, because I am a little fuzzy on it. We do not want a code unit talking and typing at the same time. Good times. Okay. So effectively, there was quite the vigorous discussion on Twitter fairly recently about the nature of comments and function names, and I think there were some interesting takes on it. Often what you've seen me do is I will say, okay, so for the given bot, let's see, if the assignment is set, we'll error if any other bots are assigned. Let's see, and we would do that for sales purchasing types, and for basic logistic, check location bot count versus limit. Okay, so like typically I would do a comment style workflow and then throw the code in between these, so that way I'm not lost on what am I trying to do. And that feels pretty natural to me, and one of the methods that was being discussed that I think is actually not a bad strategy is to do that through subsidiary function pieces. So that way you kind of have a whole flow just reading the code just as it is, jokingly poking a little fun at the naming standard with some haiku code, but that's fine. In this case, we can do this if statement right here. I don't feel it needs to be a separate function call to say if the bot instance assignment code equals blank, then exit. That would be a bizarre sub-function, I would think. We don't need to check assignment if it's blank, but we don't need that comment. That's pretty self-explanatory. So what we do need then is we need a case where the bot instance bot type of occasionally a variety of different things have a hard time with the case statements, and it's a shame because I quite like case statements, so well. So for sales and purchasing, we will do a check, and this is how we're going to do it a little bit differently. Check no others assigned here, and then we'll pass the bot instance, and that's clear and read enough. We will check that no others are also assigned here. Alright, cool, that seems fine, reasonable. And then if it is a bot instance of bot type inventory basic, and in fact the same is true of advanced, so we'll do bot instance bot type inventory advanced, same thing, that's fine. we will check location bot capacity with the bot instance as a variable. And then for now, there's no other types that we need to check the assignments of. Research bots can just be researching, marketing bots can be marketing. Goes to show how much I've been away from things that my brain is not remembering that are bot types. That's exciting. Let's see. Okay, we don't currently have any assembly or manufacturing bots, and we have some work to do on that. But in reality, the location constraints are true for all of these four types, actually. So, we're gonna do. Might as well include them now, and then we're all done. We don't have to rethink this ever again. Famous last words, right? Now that's interesting. The type is a reserve word. Good to know. I don't think that'll cause us problems. Now, thankfully, we've got a nice simple extension that helps us out. Bam! Create procedure. Thank you. I love you community guys and all of your delightful, wonderful little things to help us out here. So, we need, nice and easy, this first case is just going to be bot instance 2, because we're going to check others. And we will also have a bot already assigned error. Bot %1 is already assigned to %2. Sounds good. I'm still generally a little fuzzy on like the design etiquette on having your labels inside of procedures rather than global labels. I suppose for them, there's nowhere else I'm going to throw this error, and this code unit is going to remain pretty small, so I'm not sure it's an issue. And maybe even with translation files, maybe it doesn't matter. Don't know. In the old days, I would personally never put text constants down in the individual local. I'd always put them global so that I could always find them. But obviously, here we can find them pretty easy. I don't know. Okay, so for bot instance 2, we need to, first of all, make sure that we don't accidentally include bot instance 1, the one we're being passed in the primary key. Makes sense. And then we'll set range on assignment code to be the same as the bot instance assignment code. If there are any bots that are not me that are also assigned to this location, then blow up. So if not, bot instance is empty, then now here I want to tell the user that the bot %1 is already assigned to %2, so I want to give them bot instance 2. I want to give them bot instance 2's ID and the assignment code that they have in common. But again, is empty. I've already got I have no motion here, so I don't have which one is already assigned. It would be easier code to do if, blah blah blah, find first, but that's generally considered pretty not good form, because is empty is a heck of a lot cheaper of a database transaction, and most of the time that's going to be the case. Most of the time it's going to be empty, so that's fine. We want to nice and tidy that up. There are probably about I don't know, 40 or 50 places in my code that we should look at. Query instead of you. Can we be smarter about some of our query objects instead of loopity-loops? Don't know. It falls into the category of refactoring a bit, but it's so... We're not, at this time, going to have 200 users hammering away on this at the same time, I think. So we have a little bit of time to sort out the performance side of things. Okay, so now we do need to get our find first. We could present a list, but it should only ever be one. So I'm okay with find firsting within this loop. And we would always to get a find first, because if it was empty, it would skip over this. So there we are. So now we will throw the error of bot already assigned error with bot instance 2's ID. And we might as well use bot instance dot assign code. There we go. Okay. So, I mean, could we have put this chunk of code up here? Yes. Would it have helped the readability? No. So I think that's a good design strat. I'm okay with that as a handling of things. It's perfectly clear. And we can even tidy that up better here. So if the type is of sales and purchasing, check no others assigned. And then if these other things, check the capacity. Okay, works. I like it. It'll take a little adjusting, I think, but I'm okay with it. So now in the location bot capacity, we have a different workflow here where we need our location. And I'm okay with throwing an error if something goes wrong with the get on the location. I think if somehow someone got here, I want them to get a weird error message. That's okay. So now what we're going to do is we are going to say location full error. Yeah, that sounds fine. We need to say location %1 already has the maximum %1 %2 bots assigned. Cool. So now we have the nice simple if oh, we do need location too, because location has the maximum. Did we set a flow field on the current? Really? Where am I scrolling to? Here we are. Okay, so we've got maximum bots. We do have a flow field for the assigned bots. Okay. It's interesting that the flow field here, which we should tag this as a to-do, as a bug, is only going to look for inventory basic and advanced. It doesn't look for assembly or manufacturing. So let's bug. Yeah. Wrong type filter. Okay. Alright. So now what's an interesting challenge for us here is this is during the on-validation process. If we do a calc fields on that location assigned bots, I'm not 100% sure what it's going to find. I think it's going to find it inclusive of the new bot because it's counting bot instance and we've started the transaction, and you need to be able to see what the new information is to validate the info. So I think we can just nice and tidy do a location.calc fields assigned bots. So this should be the old assigned bot count plus this new bot instance you're assigning it. So now if location, oh, you know, test near, test far, hey? If location dot actually, location.test field. Let's use that test field. Maximum bots. If somehow or another the player ended up with a situation where their location does not have a maximum bot value, then something has gone wrong, and I want them to run into an error. Players can't do anything about the location maximum bot settings, so they should not get a more helpful error message where we could suggest go fix it. So that's fine. So now we will say if location.assignedBots is greater than location.maximum, because theoretically this should happen when they get the assignment. We don't need to begin, we're just going to error with our location full error, and we will do the bot instance dot assignment code and location dot maximum bots. Blam. Okay, tidy enough. Cool. Alright, so let's do our first publish before we run out of time for the episode. And that's the authentication has been canceled. Okay, that's useful. I didn't cancel it. Cool. So, yeah. Alright, well, I'm feeling pretty darn good about where we are on things, and I will start later this week soliciting a couple of version 0.1 alpha testers and see if we can get, 3 or 4 people who are willing to jump in and try things out and play along with me and just goof around. That'll be fun. Alright. So now, if we redo our bot list here, we should not be able to assign this bot here to v2. Let's test it. Nope. You know why? I know why. Because as I often do on this crazy channel, guess what? We wrote a brilliant function and didn't call it. I think I'm going to put a piece of tape on my monitor screen so it's always in my line of sight. That's a great function. Maybe you should call it. Oh, man. Yep. So, nice and simple. We do on our bot instance here, we're going to do a new trigger on validate. And this is going to use our new spiffy code unit for the job, BCS check assignment, sure. I love the IntelliSense picking up later in the word. Okay, so nice and easy. BCS check assignment, rec. There we go. Oy. Perhaps some of you in my viewing audience will know, and maybe you can comment in chat or in the YouTube comments if it comes up or whatever have you. I had a little fun poked at me because I always Control-Shift-P and do publish, even though clearly, theirs is the shortcut key, Control F5. One of my coworkers today was hitting Control F5 and it wasn't publishing. It didn't seem to be doing darn anything. He didn't customize his Visual Studio Code environment, but when he went to the command palette and did the publish, it worked just fine. And I was kind of like, well, that's part of why I do it the long way every time. I know that'll work and nothing will have remapped that command in the palette, but maybe your command is remapped. Okay, this page has an error. Okay, there's our little error. I mean, it's not the most clear here. Bot 6 is already assigned. Okay, can you tell me in this list who bot 6 is? I can't either. let's not give the instance ID. That's terrible. Let's do the designation, so that way we're being a little nicer to our players. Let's see here. So we are doing instance ID. Nope. Let's not do that. We could do designation and name if we wanted to, but that's fine. Now we can check the location as well. So to do that, we need a new bot, which we still got to tidy up that list a little bit because you can click new and it's just like sure. Okay, we've got some cash. All right, now this will be a fun test. Does this work in the wizard? I don't have any idea. Basic 1. Okay. Oh, well, for starters, that didn't assign that location anyways, and it wasn't even the right location. It was basic 21. So let's buy another bot just for giggles. And if we say next and we say basic 21, does it throw an error here? It does not. But it also doesn't bring that over, so we can't say that's a real good test. Oh. What? Oh, wait a minute. I don't know what the bot capacity of that location is. Maybe it's 3. Maybe it's 5. I don't know. I don't remember. 10. Oh, okay. Well, that's not going to be a very easy thing to test. So we're going to temporarily scale that down to 3. The players obviously normally will not be able to edit that, but we need to for now. So now we'll do a quick little bot of basic, next, 21, next. And again, it's not really assigning that, so okay, maybe one of you astute watchers is gonna see what's going down. I'm worried that it's more the issue of this isn't actually calculating that value at that time, because that isn't really that's the new value, and I wasn't sure that new value would be taking hold. So let's do first of all publish to fix the bug there, but also a publish with debug, because why not? Okay. Chug, chug, chug. Think, think, think. Chug, chug, chug. And this will pretty much wrap up our episode here. And we popped open a whole different browser window. That's exciting. That's fine. We'll use it. No, thank you. Accidental product placement. Okay, so now here in our bot list, if we edit and we say basic 21, we should get to our debugging session here. Great. And what I want to see is what is the value of that location at this time. So we did a calc field. So, okay, assign bots is 3. Okay, so this is finding the value of the bots that were in place before this onValidate goes through. It is not including this new bot instance in that count. So this 4th bot will be allowed. So now we know we need this to in fact be greater than equal to. So that way if we're at our maximum capacity of assignments already, then we have a problem. So in fact we can stop that debug altogether. That's fine. Alright, I honestly, with all my experience with flow fields, I wasn't sure what the current iteration of how they would handle a changing value during onValidate driving the related calculation. Didn't actually know. So that's exciting. All right. So we've got 3 assigned, and we're going to attempt to assign a 4th one, and we now know too that the bot constraints particularly are going to, or assignment constraints, we still have to tweak the wizard to make sure that that is calling that too. But that's going to be easy, so not too worried about it. I was impatient, wasn't quite done. We'll probably get the default rule center. No? Okay, cool. And basic 21. Hey, there we go. Location basic 21 already has a maximum 3 bots assigned. Perfect. And we're revert. Alright. Last little thing for our episode is in the purchase wizard page. We need to add onto our assignment step. We have the field, the assignment code field. Because the this is tricky. Our rec is on this bot page a temporary. I don't know for sure how the code unit will handle that temporary variable, but I think it'll be okay. So that's fine. I mean, we're mostly checking other values, so it should work. Let's do a real quick test of this. We can just copy this wholesale here. Alright. I mean, it's easy enough to test. We just had to buy a location bot and try to stick it to basic 21 again. That seems reasonable and not too tricky. Okay. Alright, cool. Now we probably should reload. And new, buy bot. And we grab our inventory basic. Next. And now we try basic 21. Bam. There we go. Okay. Cool. Well, that takes care of one. Alright. Nice. Yes, I didn't actually mean to get rid of my menu bar. We'll strike that one through. Cool. Okay. That works for me. Alright, well, I think that's a pretty good goal for today. We actually knocked out a secondary goal, even though I didn't have one, but we did figure out what our minimum viable product is to our first round of testing, and we made a couple of small steps towards it. So yeah, so I will go ahead after this and take some of these to-dos here and throw them up in the GitHub project as upcoming episodes, and I will start on Twitter asking around for people who would like to be a participant of the version 0.1 alpha starting next week. If you are watching this on YouTube and you do not have Twitter, feel free to comment and say that you would like to reach out, and we will get in touch and you can be part of the version 0.1. And for anyone who participates in that, I will be happy to include you in some credits that we'll be putting into the game. That is entirely optional, of course, but hey, always fun to do. So thank you all for watching, and I hope everyone stays well. Take care, and if you don't follow me on Twitter, I am conducting a survey for the next couple of weeks and would love for you to join in and share your info on that. It's not too hard to find. It is the bctada.info. So if you can, please join us in adding some of your info to that. Take care, everyone.